Welcome to feeling healthier and happier by healing the root causes of illness, which are usually your emotions, childhood trauma, your gut, your diet, your liver, burnout, and even generational trauma from your ancestors. I'm your host, Dr. Amit Agarwal, naturopathic doctor, Gestalt trauma psychotherapist, and family constellations therapist. After this show, you're also invited to join my emotional healing retreats around the world and get your free ebooks and courses on holistic medicine, trauma healing, family constellations therapy, and homeopathy at drameet.com. That's drameet.com. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Here with me today is Dr. Amit, and he has become a good friend. And as I go to introduce him, I also want to just say that we are even sharing more common experiences in our trainings now that he has started somatic experiencing training. So Dr. Amit, he is actually voted on top 43 naturopathic doctors worldwide, has helped thousands of people around the world now heal from trauma, anxiety, depression, chronic disease, and he combines a number of different modalities. So both naturopathic physician, functional medicine, and then get this, the Gestalt psychotherapy, family constellation therapy, EMDR, homeopathy, and lastly, he has added somatic experiencing to his tool set, and I'm super excited, and we're still going to be planning on meeting somewhere for a training to do together, Dr. Amit. I think did we decide Turkey? Did we decide we were going to meet up at...
We can do it in Turkey. We can do it in Africa where I'm at. We'll combine it with safari. So everyone's welcome to come down. We'll go watch some elephants and giraffes and then do some emotional healing in the daytime.
That would be amazing. I can't imagine a better place to do some somatic experiencing than out on the safari.
Yeah.
Actually watching the animal kingdom and how their nervous system plays out.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, Dr. Amit has been someone who I see as a true leader in the mind-body medicine. There's a lot of people who say that they do mind-body medicine. And then when I see someone actually doing it, I think of you, Dr. Amit. So just really appreciate what you are doing in the world, how you are showing up, and how you are truly being able to see the body as a whole and be able to treat it then as a whole.
Thank you, Amy. I'm going to try and cover everything from family constellations, homeopathy, gut health, liver health, the vagus nerve, leaky gut, anxiety, depression in our talk today. So yeah,
that's why I said we're going to be here for a couple hours, right?
Yeah, just hang on to your seats. And I look forward to sharing a very powerful emotional healing exercise at this time as well, actually.
Great. So let's start the conversation around, someone's experienced an emotional trauma, psychological trauma, whatever, and they're still struggling. They're still struggling with their mood. They're still struggling with their thoughts. They're still maybe struggling with the fatigue that can come with those effects from trauma. Why would we even need to talk about digestive system and liver? It seems from their standpoint that would be a huge jump. Like, wait a second, I'm talking about my trauma. Why do you want to talk about my gut and my liver?
Great question, Amy. So anxiety, depression, mental symptoms often come after trauma. Somebody's been traumatized, right? And anxiety, depression, insomnia, OCD, all of those are also due to a neurotransmitter imbalance, right? Serotonin, GABA, dopamine, all of those go out of balance. And one of the key things that causes them to go out of balance is trauma that sets off an adrenal response, a fight or flight response, messes up your cortisol levels, and then suppresses serotonin, dopamine, GABA, melatonin, etc., right? Leading to mental health symptoms. Now, when it comes to gut health and liver health, and we're going to go into some nice detox remedies as well for your liver, so stay tuned. When your gut is compromised, what does that mean? You have a stomach, you have intestines. Your intestines are like a nice lining, kept healthy by good bacteria and good food. Over time, with antibiotic use, poor diet, too many burgers, too much ice cream, too much coffee, alcohol, etc.
Hey, careful.
I know, I'm sorry. I love those things.
Don't ruin my good time, Dr. Amit. Those things help me feel better. When I'm sad, they help me feel better. When I'm anxious, they help me feel better.
I'll
What
give
do
you
you
some
what do you,
different
what do you
remedies
mean that
here.
they might be compromising my gut?
When
No.
you come to Africa, I'll give you some good alternatives, okay? But too much of those things, inflammatory foods, right? Excessive alcohol, the wrong medications, even the birth control pill, actually. Some of these things, they kill off the good bacteria and damage the intestinal lining, right? So then you get gaps in your intestinal lining, known as leaky gut syndrome. And then toxins leak into the bloodstream, and also toxins stimulate or aggravate the immune cells lining your gut, right? Because most of your immune cells is around your gut. So your immune system gets aggravated and you go into an inflammatory response. That inflammation actually causes a whole bunch of diseases, asthma, eczema, arthritis, etc. But that inflammation actually also messes up your brain chemicals. Number one, it throws off your cortisol levels, right? And when your cortisol levels are off, right, either from inflammation or from adrenal fatigue and stress, from trauma, the imbalance of cortisol throws off your neurotransmitters, right? And that makes anxiety, depression, and the symptoms after trauma even worse. And the thing is, when you have too much inflammation and a cortisol imbalance, what happens is your brain struggles to make more new nervous connections, neural connections. We have this ability called neuroplasticity, right? The ability of the brain to rewire itself. And so the benefits of therapy are that the brain rewires itself after you have a good intervention. But now if you're inflamed from a leaky gut and a toxic liver, right, then it's going to be harder for you to manage neuroplasticity. So despite all these interventions, you're just not going to feel on top of your game. You might
I would say that neuroplasticity is still happening, but it's negative neuroplasticity. Like your nervous system is still responding because that's what it does. But in this bath of inflammation that's traveling up the vagus nerve from the intestines, now it's responding to that. And so you're actually cementing more and more pathways in your nervous system that are pathways of stress, that are pathways of overwhelm. And so it's almost like negative neuroplasticity is happening.
Negative neuroplasticity is happening because also you're associating all these negative feelings from inflammation, etc., with your mood and your identity. And so you start believing in a certain pattern of thought and a certain personality. As if you're a victim, life is happening badly for you, or you can't control these negative thoughts, and you re-stress yourself. So yes, inflammation, toxicity combined with trauma definitely contributes to negative neuroplasticity. So thank you.
And one of the things that we talk about here in the biology of trauma is also that these very same factors that you're talking about, Dr. Meat, are the same ones that will predispose someone to experiencing trauma. Because if they have a leaky gut, they are much more likely to experience a stress as overwhelming, going to shut down and experience it as a trauma because they just don't have the cellular resilience that they would have if they didn't have the inflammation, if they didn't have the leaky gut, if they had good serotonin levels, if they had good neurotransmitter levels. So these are the same factors that will actually predispose them, but then also, like you're saying, get them stuck in their trauma patterns.
Get them stuck. And because let's say you have leaky gut and a toxic liver, your neurotransmitters are already out of balance. So when you go through a traumatic event, first of all, your adrenal glands are probably exhausted from chronic inflammation, right? So when you go through a traumatic event, you're feeling more vulnerable, right? And you'll feel more negative feelings. So you have more negative associations with a trauma based on your underlying physiology, right? And therefore, yes, you're right. The experience of trauma could be much worse for somebody who is inflamed and has a toxic liver. And we'll talk about detoxifying your liver soon.
Yeah, let's go there. So the liver not only helps with digestion and really all of the fluids that then come from the gallbladder and help with digestion of fat, which is a whole nother topic that we could go into, of absorption, right? Like actual digestion and absorption of your nutrients when there's all of this going on. But this other main function of the liver is detoxification. And how does that relate? And then one question that I always get, so I'll toss it into your lap and make you answer it, which is, hey, when I'm going through a detox, when I'm going through a liver detox, why do I feel so awful? Why do I get so emotional? And I'll make
Okay.
you answer it.
No problem. No problem. So I cover all the liver remedies in my course, yeah, which I'll mention at the end of this talk. But I'm going to go through a few of them and the connection of liver health, gut health, and brain chemicals. Okay. So let's say you have all this inflammation going on in your body from leaky gut. Yeah. All this inflammation creates toxicity. This toxicity slams your liver. Yeah. Your liver becomes inflamed and has to deal with these toxins. Number one. Number two, your liver has to deal with pesticides, drugs, alcohol, pollution in the air, everything, right? So your liver becomes overburdened and what we call stagnant in Chinese medicine. And with liver qi stagnation, your liver produces less bile generally. So you'll have poor digestion, right? And you have less good bile salts and good quality bile going into your gut. And that will negatively affect your microbiome, your good bacteria, which are meant to produce serotonin, dopamine, etc. And so the levels of neurotransmitters being produced will reduce because there's lack of bile flow. One, leaky gut will get worse because you're not digesting your food properly with the right amount of bile, right? And the bile salts actually kill off bad bacteria as well. So you're killing off less bad bacteria. So again, you're getting more of a dysbiosis, all right? Now, your liver also controls your hormones, right? So with liver stagnation, you go into usually, but it's not always the case, progesterone deficiency or estrogen excess. And progesterone helps GABA work better in your brain. So now suddenly you have a low progesterone, GABA will work less effectively. So you have more anxiety, more insomnia, more weepiness. And that's why whenever somebody comes to me with PMS symptoms, premenstrual symptoms like gas, bloating, anxiety, depression, sadness, etc., breast tenderness, clotting, usually due to liver stagnation. So a lot of people are just making the mistake of taking hormonal remedies. You know, yes, they're fine, but you got to treat the root cause. And I often find inflammation and liver toxicity are the root cause of most conditions. Okay.
Wow. Can you
Yeah.
say that again? Like most conditions?
Yeah, most conditions I find when you heal the gut and the liver together. So a lot of people are focusing on the gut, right? They're taking their probiotics, they're avoiding the inflammatory foods, but they're forgetting their liver, right? And the liver is really the seat of your health, not only your gut, because the liver affects basically your microbiome, leaky gut, digestion, vitamin storage, cholesterol metabolism, right? I cover all these on the course as well. But if you don't detoxify your liver and only focus on healing your gut and popping probiotics, you're going to be dependent on supplements the rest of your life, right? So imagine your liver is the cleanser and that's where everything is getting stuck, right? And all the heat is building up and all the toxins. And so let's say you're fixing all these other places and using an anti-inflammatory foods, going on all these diets, but this engine is just toxic. It's burdened. It's not getting the right type of help, right? Then there's going to be a backlog of healing happening in your body, right? From hormonal imbalances, tendency towards cancer, skin issues, poor iron levels. So then you're going to feel fatigued, poor absorption because, you know, your bile breaks down fat and into tiny droplets and that fat is absorbed and certain vitamins are also absorbed, certain minerals, etc., are absorbed with your fat. And so if you're not absorbing nutrients, then you're not going to make the right kind of neurotransmitters as well. So liver stagnation can contribute to mental illness through its effect on absorbing nutrients, right?
Wow.
And
I know that in Chinese medicine with their model that they say that I think it's anger that is the emotion associated with the liver. Is that true?
It's anger, resentment, in both ways, right? So if you suppress a lot of these emotions, then it goes to the liver. So it's actually healthy to emote certain things, right? And
so
sometimes
it's unprocessed emotions.
unprocessed emotions. And if you have a lot of liver stagnation, people who are really toxic, you'll find them more irritable, right? So the liver can create emotions as well, and suppressing certain emotions will also impact the liver.
I started noticing how I have been breathing deeply throughout the day, like spontaneous deep breaths, Where before I used to catch myself like, oh, I'm not breathing. I better breathe. And like, I can't even describe the feeling. It's like to be able to just naturally breathe that deeply is really profound. And someone else had shared this, but in the last few days, I've had several circumstances that normally I would have ruminated and stayed in that sympathetic freeze patterning. And it's been, I've noticed it, and I would like check in what's going on. And then I was able to just move on.
Yeah, well, when I think of the liver's role in detoxification, and I understand that, you know, all of these things that our body needs to clear out, that the liver is helping us clear out, like those are irritants to the nervous system. So yeah, just on a cellular level, your nervous system is going to be more sensitive, more reactive.
Very sensitive, very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we produce a lot of lactic acid all the time, and the liver actually converts lactic acid back to, there's a cycle that goes back to glycogen or glucose or something like that. And lactic acid is an irritant. High levels of lactic acid in the body actually exacerbate anxiety as well. So people with liver stagnation will feel emotionally vulnerable and foggy thinking, cloudy thinking, you know, a foggy brain. And often what I find, people who feel very tired in the mornings after, even if they sleep well or they don't sleep well, but they're really like groggy and they don't feel like they're rested, often it's a liver stagnation issue as well.
And what I'm thinking of is that many people who are experiencing anxiety, for example, they're not connecting it with their physiology, right? Like for them, it's just an emotional experience, and it's and our mind, with its role in trying to make a story about why you're feeling anxious, will latch onto, oh, well, it definitely is this event in your life. It's definitely this person over here. And not realizing that, no, like there's this whole internal physiology that is playing a role in this and could be contributing, causing this, and the work is actually with your liver, or the work is actually with
your liver, with your gut, with your diet. And also the adrenal glands are important, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's exhausting trying to, you know, pick apart your brain, pick apart your experiences, trying to heal those old traumas, where it could be that you just need to reduce inflammation and get your body healthier so your thinking is clear and you're less bogged down with negative thoughts due to neurotransmitter imbalances, right? And also very important, I want to cover is adrenal fatigue. So once somebody's traumatized, or if you have unhealed trauma from your past, you know, your body's always in this fight, flight, or freeze response, and that takes up adrenal resources. Zinc, vitamin C, all these minerals get used up. And a lot of people are on the verge of burnout or adrenal fatigue, right? And we're barely coping in life. And so the adrenal glands need a bit of support, right? And so in addition to healing trauma, I'll often recommend some herbs, either ashwagandha, rhodiola, you know, things that nourish the adrenal glands back into health. Vitamin C, zinc, the B vitamins are also excellent for adrenal support as well. So
I'm curious if you've been exploring any of the role of the freeze response yet from your work with the somatic experiencing. For me, I'm just saying that for me, like as a physician, understanding that freeze response completely changed my understanding of the physiology and even what's happening with the adrenal glands and what is needed to help a person come out of the freeze response that I now saw as very different from that fight or flight and that sympathetic response. So I'm really looking forward to when both of us get to the end of that somatic experience and we can put our heads together and be like, all right, let's relook at this freeze response thing from the lens of physiology, because my understanding, the more I get into this, is that the physiology of the freeze response is very different, completely different than the physiology of the fight or flight. Is that what you're starting to see?
Yeah, definitely. This is from personal experience more than theory. So, and I use homeopathy a lot we'll talk about some remedies for shock and trauma that send people into the freeze response. But people believe the freeze response is just a frozen response, right? And there's not much happening. But there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening, but the body just doesn't have that sense of safety to even be seen, yeah, or to be heard, or to make a move, yeah. And
or energy to keep up the fight of the sympathetic system.
mm-hmm.
And so it's like they've run to the end of what metabolically they're able to maintain in that high energy state of the sympathetic in that fight or flight. And so it's like energetically, like the mitochondria, especially if you have any compromise in your mitochondria, you're going to be reaching that point of going into the freeze response sooner, because your body literally like runs to the end, and they're like, so our best mechanism, our best strategy for survival right now is energy conservation. So we're shutting everything down.
Yeah, and then you go into like poor ATP production,
exactly.
poor detoxification, because all your ATP shutting down, your mitochondria shutting down, and that's where trauma can lead to chronic disease as well. So it's super important to use therapies that release trauma energetically rather than just analyze. I don't like those therapies that analyze you. You know what I mean? And you go into analysis about yourself. In fact, I have a couple of clients who are spinning their wheels so much because of the wrong suggestion in therapy. And when you get really kind, loving therapy where you have the chance to accept and emote all your needs in a safe place. And I combine that with homeopathy. Now, yeah, we need to talk about homeopathy.
Yeah, let's talk about homeopathy.
Yeah, homeopathy is a beautiful energetic medicine. You might have heard of arnica. You might have heard of rescue remedies. So rescue remedies is similar to homeopathy, but it's Bach flower remedies, which are also made by diluting substances multiple times, like getting the essence of something. So in homeopathy, what we do is we take an original substance and we dilute it multiple times. So we're using the energetic frequency of the substance. And the reason why homeopathy is so powerful for emotions and to heal trauma from the past is because we're using an energetic form of medicine, right? A vibrational form. And emotions are vibrational, right? And so, yes, we can suppress them with with psychiatric medication or other even herbal remedies that control your neurotransmitters, but there's a certain vibration people are going through that's causing these emotions to manifest. And so what heals a person deeper is vibrational frequency medicine. And that's why I love using homeopathy. Remedies like Ignatia are great for betrayal, from a loved one, or financially, or even from friends, or a big surprise, a shock that makes you sad, tearful, anxious. Or metallicum, another great remedy for people who are very depressed, have a sense of failure, guilt, suicidal thoughts, Natrum muriaticum. I love using Natrum muriaticum when there's a big breakup or issues with your mom, right? So each remedy is different based on the cause, the type of trauma a person has, and the unique symptoms a person has. So we look at, is there more anxiety? Is there more resentment? Is there more suicidal thoughts? Is there more guilt? Right? So the unique symptoms of a person help us to find a better remedy for them. And that's why homeopathy works so well, because we're individualizing symptoms of a person as well.
And this is something that I do not know the roots of homeopathy. How have they established that which essences have the right vibrational changes for the specific emotions?
Okay. So I cover the remedies in my online course, right? Remedies for trauma, anxiety, depression, etc. I'm going to give you a bit of theory though on how.
I want the theory. Yeah.
Okay. So homeopathy was discovered or created by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. He was a regular physician out of Germany, and he discovered the principle of, he used the principle of like cures like. What does that mean? If I cut an onion and I sniff it, I'll get watery eyes and a runny nose, right? And he discovered that if you give someone a diluted form of onion, very dilute, right? If somebody comes in with a runny nose and watery eyes, basically, and you give them a very diluted form of onion, so a substance that kind of matches those symptoms in toxic amounts, then the diluted version will cure those same symptoms, right? And the remedy he used, I think he discovered first, was the bark of the cinchona tree. It's used for malaria, and I think he overdosed on it, or he took high amounts of it, and then he got the symptoms of malaria, right? So what cures malaria in toxic amounts will give you the symptoms of malaria. And so when you have symptoms of something, you take a very diluted amounts of the same substance, of the substance in nature that creates those symptoms as well, then you cure those symptoms. It's very powerful stuff.
That is powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so he wrote this amazing book called The Organon, which is quite a heavy read if people are really interested in the theory of homeopathy. And basically what then they started doing was provings. So they would give a group of people the homeopathic doses of a substance, right? Lots of it over time. And then everyone would record their symptoms, their dreams, their physical symptoms, etc. And lo and behold, people who were taking homeopathic remedies in high amounts, frequently for a long time, those group of people would start getting similar symptoms. People would start crying, people get similar dreams, feel aggravated, more constipated, maybe some vomiting, maybe some diarrhea, etc. So they would record the collection of symptoms, and the most common symptoms, they would say, okay, these belong to the remedy picture. And that's how they discover what certain remedies can do. That's one way. And then also by studying nature. If you take arsenicum, for example, you get a lot of vomiting and diarrhea. And so arsenicum, homeopathic arsenicum album, is one of the most common remedies used for somebody who has food poisoning and they're going through vomiting and diarrhea. So using the homeopathic form to cure what a toxic amount would create in a person, in a healthy person.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, very powerful stuff. So homeopathy is really one of my favorite medicines to use because it does not suppress symptoms.
Right.
Yeah. It stimulates the vital force of a person at a very deep level, energetic level.
Yep.
And I love using homeopathy for liver detox as well. Because homeopathy has the power to help the liver drain at a very deep level rather than just superficial level with herbs and things like that. Yeah. Homeopathy helps the liver cells detox at a cellular level, which is very important if you want to get a deeper cure for your liver.
Well, and just as you're talking about the vibrations of stuff, right? And being able to see how anything that's just going, especially like a medication that may just come in and try to relieve a symptom, but you're not actually changing the underlying vibration or even presence of something, how that is just going to create this like increased internal tension between what is happening on a cellular level, and yet we're kind of suppressing that from just being expressed. Yeah. And so it actually is, you know, kind of putting a cover on maybe a fire and making it even hotter inside.
Making it hotter inside, suppressing disease, suppressing expression. You know, we have biological purpose. When we're sick and those symptoms have a purpose, they're either detoxifying something, they're showing a missing connection with a loved one, a parent. And we see that when sometimes I'm treating people physical symptoms with family constellations therapy, right? Because there's a trauma, there's an abandonment with a mom, or there's a murder in the family, or there's an affair between, there's an affair with the father and somebody else, and the mother is neglected. And the child is basically trying to protect the mother and rejecting the father. And that siding with one parent and rejecting another creates immune disorders and other dysfunctions, including anxiety, depression in people. So I'll combine homeopathy with family constellations therapy to heal that energetic tension and imbalance that's manifesting in disease, which is very different than, taking St. John's wort or chamomile tea or herbal supplement to manage symptoms, right? Or to work on detoxification your whole life, but you're not treating the energetic cause.
Right. I know that I'm going to try to get you to come do a workshop for us for the family constellations for us to actually see, like, what is this that you're talking about and how would you actually do it?
With pleasure.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. I've actually never, I don't know like how you actually do the family constellation. So I'm super curious about that. For someone who has resonated with what you're talking about, and they're like, oh yes, like I can totally recognize my gut is inflamed, my liver's probably stale, stagnant, not detoxifying anything for me. Where would you say that they would even start in such a way that we're not going to do too much too fast for their system and overwhelm them with good things, but just too much too fast? What are the things that people can safely start with and kind of map out? All right, this is a journey, and this is where you would just start your journey.
Okay. So I have some free videos on this exactly, but I'll share the steps briefly. Yeah. It's on my website. First, removing inflammatory foods. Yeah. Avoiding all those things you love. Too much coffee, too much sugar, too much alcohol, bread, gluten, dairy, etc. And then sometimes just something simple like hot water and lemon in the mornings, or ginger, herbs to detoxify your liver. Yeah. And just by doing that less damage, you're gonna start feeling better. Yeah. Liver health is really, I can't stress that more, no pun intended here. Liver health is really the seat of your health.
Yeah. When I think of liver health, I really think of that flow, right? Like it's the center for the flow of things and being able to, that movement, internal movement.
Internal movement. Yeah. So that will start your physiology going. And then being kind to yourself, giving yourself permission to really feel. And this is another emotional healing exercise as part of those free videos where we can do a bit of it right now. Yeah. So if you close your eyes and put one hand on your forehead, one hand behind your head, and you take a couple of deep breaths in and out, and just sit with or notice the emotions that you might be sitting with in this moment. It could be irritation, it could be interest, it could be sadness, it could be exhaustion, it could be fear, whatever it might be. I'd like you to say, it's safe to feel this way from time to time. And adding the words from time to time at the end of the sentence gives your nervous system, your physiology, permission to dip in and out of the emotion. So there's a natural titration and experiencing and letting go that happens. Because often we resist we're feeling irritable, but we're in resistance to it. We're judging it. We're labeling it. So try again. It's safe for me to be worried from time to time. And just feel different parts of your nervous system respond to those words from time to time, and it's safe. It's safe for me to doubt or to reject or to keep my distance once in a while. And just feel that. Yeah. So we need permission.
Settling that happens just with those words.
Yeah. Right. So we need that permission to feel the full spectrum of emotions and come back to neutrality. Because often we're stuck in a loop, judging, resisting, feeling, labeling, and you don't get a full cure happening. So this exercise will help you dip into your nervous system. So that's a great beginning to have as well in your healing journey, is being kind and compassionate with your own self. Yeah, self-forgiveness and giving room for the spectrum of feelings and emotions that your body needs to feel in order to connect with dissociated parts, rejected parts, labeled parts, right? That cause a tizzy in our minds. Yeah. A lot of people are anxious just because of the label being given to their emotions. And if there was more acceptance about it, they'd be more comfortable in their own skin, with their own feelings. They would label themselves less negatively and feel more included in society. And that sense of inclusion in society actually gives us a lot of emotional resilience. A lot of depression and suicidal thoughts are often from that feeling of feeling excluded from the family, from society, from a certain group of people. Yeah. So coming back to that okayness with who you are.
One of the cool things that I have learned in some of the more advanced somatic trainings, neuroaffective touch, and even the neurodevelopment is how important that neck is, especially that upper neck and cranial base is for that
Mhm.
sense of belonging. So like
Mhm.
I love how that just all kind of came full circle and be like, yeah, this is the containment that we can provide for ourselves. And
Yeah.
those exact points of contact allow us to give ourselves a different felt experience in our body right now that we
Yeah.
can do for ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this holding on both sides, both hemispheres is very powerful. You know, it
Very
helps connect
powerful.
different sides of the brain.
Yeah.
There's a therapy called tapas as well that does that.
Mm-hmm.
Animals also, you know, they hold it, you hold a cat from here, it'll freeze, right? It'll just like knock out. So these are very special points on us. And that's why it's important to also use the body, include the body in your healing experience. You know, do therapies like Gestalt, EMDR, somatic experiencing that get you to sit with the sensations, the visceral experience of what you're processing so that you're not spinning in your own mind endlessly trying to fix yourself. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your inner child, actually.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting how we've kind of both landed on like this is so often the place to start of just being able to calm down and settle down that nervous system. So I developed my 21-day journey, which is a journey that I take people on into their nervous system. And it's
Mhm.
just some very simple somatic exercises, a different one every day for 21 days. So that at the end of it, they have all of these tools, some somatic exercises based just on providing themselves a felt sense of safety and then a felt sense of support and then some expansion. We grow into some growth, some joy, some expansion, which interestingly is sometimes just as hard of emotions as some of the other ones. And so we titrate that for sure. But this
Mhm.
going into the body is such an important process, and I find that so many people are living much more disconnected from their body than they even realize, and
Yeah.
it's helpful, sometimes necessary to just even have a guide to how do I go into my body because otherwise
Yeah.
it does not seem to be working, or I'm not sure that I'm doing it right, or it seems too scary. All of the above can happen. So
Yeah.
having that process and having that sequence of like, okay, well, let's just start right here, and then we'll take this step, and then we'll take that step, can be
Even
so
deep,
helpful for people.
even deep breathing, Amy. You know, just
Mhm.
3 long deep breaths 5 times a day. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
um, really gets your physiology and your vagus nerve
Mhm.
calming down.
Mhm.
And deep breathing also helps your diaphragm massage your liver, so you get more liver detoxification happening.
Mhm.
Right? And when you calm your nervous system down, then you're releasing different kind of cytokines in your gut, right? And that will affect your microbiome and the way your cortisol levels are affecting your thyroid hormones or the conversion from of inactive T4 to active T3,
Yep.
right? So just simple deep breathing can really take you a long way. Yeah.
Mhm.
The repetition of positive experiences, or what we call resources in somatic and gestalt and many other therapies, the repetition of feeling safe and having positive imagery, that actually can calm your nervous system down because your nervous system can predict, okay, at 12 o'clock I'm going to have a safe experience. You know, like you create a pattern of, I experience positive things at frequent intervals in my daytime, your nervous system will begin to relax because it'll associate the future with these exercises you're doing on a daily basis,
Well,
right?
that, and then I love that you say that because the nervous system loves predictability. Like it loves a schedule. It loves routine. The nervous system really feels safe with that. So this is where we find even people kind of going back to things that are not helping them, right? But it's familiar to them. And that is what feels safe to their nervous system, is what is familiar, what is routine, what is a pattern. And so when we can create that for ourselves in a positive way,
Yeah,
how much
yeah,
more, right? Like we're just tapping into neuroscience and leveraging the principles of the nervous system for helping ourselves with our health, our mood, our
yeah.
energy, our aliveness. Mm-hmm.
And some people actually resist doing healthy things because they're unfamiliar to them. And it feels like, gosh, this is not familiar, so I resist it.
Exactly.
And so,
Yep.
Doing things over a period of 2 to 3 weeks creates this familiarity, and then your body will start craving these healthy patterns.
Yeah. That's what we want, right, Dr. Meat? We want our patients craving vegetables.
I actually crave vegetables now, before I was craving a snack, and then I see a raw carrot, and it's just like oh,
that's it.
Yes. But it's so tempting to pick up like peanuts or something else, a cracker, and then you just feel sluggish and tired after, right? But I'm getting I am craving healthy vegetables nowadays. So
it hits the spot.
I hope people will get there as well.
Very good. Well, thank you. It is always really nice having you come on. I feel like you are a wealth of knowledge for people, and so really appreciate your time. And again, just your energy and what you have chosen to do and how you want to show up in the world. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure. Mm-hmm. And wish everyone love on their healing journey, self-love especially.
Thanks for learning how to heal the root cause. Make sure to also get your free ebook and courses I've created for you on naturopathic medicine, trauma healing, family constellations therapy, and homeopathy at drameet.com. That's DRAMEET.com. Thanks and lots of love.